Hey folks, Paul Reddick here. Welcome back to another edition of the Baseball Dads podcast. And in this edition, we're going to talk about a mistake that dads make that they never see coming, and they never realize it's happening. And when it does happen, it's oftentimes too late to wind it back. So before we get started, head on over to 567dad.com. You can check out our new book, bestseller, 567 Dad Baseball Edition. So most of my day is spent working and coaching with dads. I do 5, 6, 7 calls per day, and I have dads that I work with on an ongoing basis, and I coach them on how to make the most of the baseball time that their son's going to have, their career, however long or short it's going to be, and how to do that without losing your connection with your son, losing your family relationship time, compromising your values, or losing your mind. But every once in a while, I get a request from a dad who wants me to work with either his grown-up child, who maybe is entering into their 20s or coming into the workplace, or their child that's about to, or someone who's already grown and they're 25 or over, 30 or over. And I will tell you that it's heartbreaking for me on many levels to deal with this. It's heartbreaking me because, number one, I really deeply care about people. So that's always an issue for me, is that I really do care very deeply for people, sometimes too much. And when I hear these kind of situations from the dad, it's heartbreaking because I feel like the dad feels like he really screwed up. And he really messed up. And there's just so much like pain and regret on the dad's part. And then the son also deals with a couple different feelings. And the son deals with a lot of, I'm kind of stuck, with this way of thinking. And they want it to go back to this way of thinking. And quite honestly, and if I'm just speaking very candidly and honestly, I hope I can in this podcast, I speak to a lot of sons who resent their fathers. And here's the biggest thing. There's a moment in time where, especially if you're watching this, I know your son's probably big and heavy into baseball. There is a moment in time where there's a tide that shifts in their self-esteem. And people get self-esteem from all different places, right? Healthy and unhealthy. And it's really, really hard to see in the moment what's a healthy and an unhealthy way to build, get, or maintain or self-esteem. But there's a moment that, especially in sports, where if a kid has some kind of potential or some kind of talent, or they show an early development, or they do well, there's a shift where that child goes from, and I've seen this as young as like 7 or 8, all the way up to older 18, 19-year-olds, where all of a sudden the kid goes from or the kid relationship with the parent goes from, you're my child, and it's kind of that unconditional love thing. And I have no doubt that remains, so I'm not saying that. But then the child starts to get a lot of the praise, acknowledgement, attention, loving feelings from how good they are at the sport. And there's a moment where it's kind of like, they're your child, they're special, they're unique, and you love them. And then it's like they go into this world, and all of a sudden, every time that they're feeling good, it starts to be connected to sports, baseball, or otherwise, or grades, and it becomes the vehicle to build self-esteem. Now, it all starts very innocently. I don't think anybody starts this off saying, I'm going to start to measure more what goes on in the field. I'm going to start to only be maybe like happy when the kid does well. We're going to talk about it. Maybe we're going to go out and celebrate when he does well, and we're going to his accomplishments. Are we going to acknowledge them more? And so here's the interesting thing too, is that a lot of times that's like a sibling thing. Like if one sibling's better than the other sibling feels like, well, you're paying so much attention to him because he's good at this and I'm not. And how do I get that same kind of attention? But I'm going to tell you, in the long term, the problem becomes between you and your son. And I'm going to tell you in a second how to watch out for this. No father that I spoke to thought this was happening. And I'm not talking like I'm talking to crazy people, like lunatic athletic parents. That's probably another discussion. And even the kids are good kids. These were all good men that this happened to. They slipped into it slowly, and I'll tell you in a minute how that happens. But what I often find is that now that adult goes out into the world, and a few things happen. They've lost the vehicle with which they derive, keep, maintain, and build their self-esteem. And they have no kind of foundation. They have no center point, no lighthouse, no framework in order to find that. And this shift, I'll tell you, it happens so slightly. And here's what you want to watch out for. And I've had dads, and I've coached dads through this. So literally, you want a sheet of paper that says, where am I praising, acknowledging, spending time with, confirming uniqueness with my son? Where is it? Is it on the baseball field? Is it on the athletic field? Or is it off? And I'll tell you that I very rarely had dads that passed this test. Almost all of them come up in another way where they say, you know what? This has gotten out of balance, and I didn't realize it until I saw it in black and white ink on paper. Now I realize the only time we're kind of spending time together is in baseball. The only time we're really kind of happy or excited is around a baseball field. And the only time we're really connected and we're enjoying our time together is around a baseball field. Well, guess what? Baseball's going to go away. At some point, for all of us, baseball is going to go away. And I'm really sick and tired of talking to 25-year-old men who have piss poor self-esteem. And I'm tired of talking to broken-hearted dads who feel like they screwed up for their kid because they didn't maintain and strike this balance. Now, look, it gets exciting. There's no doubt about it. Especially now in the culture we're in, it's very exciting. It's exhilarating. It's an adrenaline rush. It's all those chemicals in your brain get fired when the kid does well. And he's like, that's my son. He's good and he's performing well and he's enjoying himself and he's experiencing some success. But understand that if that is the only way that your son is getting his self-esteem or attention, affection, love, caring, connection, time with his parents, that is a recipe for long-term failure. And dads, take this to the bank. If you set yourself up like that, there's going to be a time when he hits 23, 24, 25, 26 or earlier where he is going to realize this. And when he comes to this self-actualization of this is where he got all his attention from and he has no other place attention from, two things can happen. Number one, he's going to resent you. And number two, and I hope this never happens, he's going to go looking for somewhere else to get that. And I've dealt with too many kids that have gone to some unhealthy places to get that recognition, connection, self-esteem, love, and caring. Is this deep kind of stuff, heady stuff? Yeah, it is. I never bring you guys anything that doesn't show up on my desk. This podcast was started because of things that started showing up on my desk. This is not just like kind of the way Pollyannish, the way I would like the world to be, kind of idealistic, way. It's not. This is what I'm experiencing day to day, and I'm seeing these as increasingly more problems. Get out a sheet of paper. How do I give my son attention, connection, significance, caring, recognition, acknowledgement, time, attention, love? How do I do it? How much of that is in baseball and how much of that is not? And it's real easy. If that baseball list is long, you need to start adding things on the other side to build that list. Again, heady stuff, but again, it's coming across my desk. And I will tell you that there's nothing. I love what we do now. I love it. I love the contribution and the help we make. But on the bitter side of what we do is there is nothing worse in my job than hearing the pain of a father that feels like he screwed up. On the flip side, if you're listening to this and maybe you did do this, you can walk it back. You can turn it around. You absolutely can do that. If I can be of assistance to you in that, I would be more than grateful to and happy to. My phone number is 201-323-0840. If I don't pick up, send me a text. But yeah, it's an awful sound of a dad. I could hear it in their voice when they feel like they screwed up something for their son. So if you think this might be a problem, I would start to rectify it, get that sheet of paper out now. If you're not sure, if you don't think you have a problem, guess again, double check it, make that list. Like I said, I've never had a dad who made that list who wasn't out of balance. in the game of baseball. Strike that balance, get that right. And if I can be an assistance of you, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much, guys. Again, if you want to head on over to 567dad.com, check out the 567 Dad book, and we're going to start tackling more and more of these deeper issues as we go. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next week.